Hello, my friends, it's Lisa, and welcome to my 2022 bullet journal setup. So once again, for my journal this year, I will be using an Archer and Olive journal. This is the Stardust journal in the A5 size. I couldn't find it on their website, but I will link down below the B5 size because I could find that one. But that is the journal I decided to go with this year. I love the dusty navy blue color, and the design on it is so stunning. So that is the one I decided to go with for 2022. And for my beginning of the year spreads, I decided to kind of go with a theme that matched the kind of front cover of this journal. So I'm using a lot of blue tones, like my palette is very much blue tone. And I also am doing a lot of moon and star doodles. I just like the idea of having my beginning of the year spreads look like the actual journal itself. I just feel like it makes it look really cohesive and like they go together, and I just really like the look of it. So you saw me write in my name at the beginning of the journal. I feel like that's one of the most exciting things about starting a new journal is writing your name. And I wrote my name with a blue Archer and Olive acrylograph pen and also used a bronze Archer and Olive acrylograph pen to do the moon and the stars. And now for the title page for 2022, I'm doing this navy blue moon. And then I use the bronze pen to draw these leaf patterns, these leaf doodles. And that's kind of what I go with through a lot of these spreads is the moons, the leaf doodles, and the stars. That's kind of consistent across all of the pages. And I just really like the combination of those things. I think they look really nice together. So I just scatter some stars kind of around this design, and I also have 2022 written on this front journal, and then that is the title page. I think it looks really nice. I honestly don't really look at this page that much, but I am happy with how it turned out. So next we are starting in on the future log page, which is a classic bullet journal spread. This is where I just draw out all of the calendars for every single month of the year. My hand cramps so badly by the end of this. One of these years I'm going to invest in stamps or stickers for a year so that I don't have to write them down, but this year was not that year, and I just find the spread to be very, very helpful. You can write down any holidays, birthdays, any appointments, events, anything like that, because obviously when you're setting up your bullet journal, I go month by month. I think most people kind of go month by month. I'm sure there are people that set up their bullet journals throughout the entire year just at the beginning of the year, but as you know, I don't have October set up already. I can't write down any events that or birthdays or anything that might be happening that month, so I can write it down here. So when I am setting up these future spreads for future months, I have everything important here. So I'm just going in and labeling each month, and then I also obviously go in and draw the calendar for each month. And like I said, it takes quite a long time, but it does look nice, at the end. I feel very accomplished by writing everything out, and it's one of my probably most used spreads for the whole year because I just am constantly referencing it for setting up future spreads and everything. It's definitely very helpful. If only it was that quick. I wish. But I'm going in, I'm actually using the bottom of a lip gloss bottle to kind of shape out the moon. So I'm doing that in the bottom corner and also drawing some more of the leaf doodles just to kind of fill up some of the space. But obviously I want to have as much empty space on this spread as possible, so I have plenty of space to write down any events or any birthdays or anything like that that I need. I also did decide to go in and kind of label the page, so I'm once again whipping out my stamps. I actually kept my lettering for my beginning of the year spreads for this year, very similar to my 2021 setup. I did kind of the same hand lettering, and I also used my stamps again just because I really do like the way it all looks together. I think it looks really nice, and I knew I liked it, so I kind of wanted to keep it similar so that I wouldn't, do something different and hate it. But yeah, I did go in with the stamps to write out future log, and I do make a mistake. I do stamp one of the U's too close to another letter, and I have to kind of go in and fix it. I just take my white Archer and Olive acrylograph pen, cover it, and then stamp it again, and it basically looks fine. I've just learned that, mistakes happen in your bullet journal, and it's just, there's so many ways you can fix them. So I kind of did stare at it for a few minutes like, what do I do to fix this? But at the end of the day, it was really easy to fix, and I think it looks okay. So now we're moving on to a very helpful spread. I had one in my journal last year for the very first time, and I decided to use it again this year. It is kind of a grid spacing cheat sheet. So when I'm setting up spreads, every month I, section off the spreads into different boxes, different sections. If you're trying to divide up a page into like 3 equal parts, you kind of have to count it out every single time. But if you have this little cheat sheet, you can just kind of quickly reference it, and then you know exactly how big each square has to be, how much space you have for each section, and it makes it so much easier. So I'm just dividing up the page into halves, thirds, and fourths, and it's a little confusing, I feel like, just looking at it, but if you just count out exactly how many spaces you have, if you wanted to divide the page into half, into thirds, and into fourths, it's basically just kind of making it easy for me to reference that. So I know it's a little confusing, but there are plenty of videos out there kind of explaining that if you want to kind of learn more about it. But it's a very helpful spread. It definitely made kind of counting out all of the things that I had to do in my journal last year a lot easier. So I definitely wanted to do it again this year. Alright, so now we're moving on to a spread that's actually a bit different this year. I did something different on this page in my journal last year, and I decided this year to use this page as a growth tracker. So what I'm going to do is be able to keep track of my YouTube subscribers and my growth on YouTube and also on Instagram just in one place. What I have done in all of my journals in the past is just kind of go by month. So in my monthly setups on my calendar page, I'll just have a little section to keep track of what number I was at the beginning of the month on my YouTube channel and my Instagram, and where I was at the end of the month. And I decided this year it would be kind of nice to have it all just in one place. So I think it'll be nice to not only see just like by month how much I've grown, but kind of on a yearly scale how much I've grown as well. And I don't keep track of my followers on YouTube and Instagram just because I'm obsessed with the numbers and want to have more followers. It's more so because I do genuinely look back and see where I was at different points, and it makes me feel like really proud of myself to see how much I've grown over time and to see where I was at specific times. I don't know, it's just something that I find very motivating, and it's more of like a positive thing for me. It's not, I look at it and I get mad or upset about not having a certain amount of followers. It's more motivational for me and more just like really cool to see. So that's why I keep track of it. It's not, because I'm obsessed with the numbers, but it is really cool to see. And it's also very helpful if there's a certain month where I grow a lot or I don't grow really at all. I can kind of look at what I was posting, what I was doing, and see if maybe that's why. So it also is very helpful, but I also just like to use it for memories and being able to look back on where I was at certain months and just kind of feel good about what I'm doing. Also, this was another spread where I made a mistake. I put the M stamp where I needed to put an A, so I just cut out a spare piece of dotted grid paper that I had from a journal in the past and just covered it and did the stamp over. No big deal. It was very easy to fix, but I knew when I would go in and kind of try to do all the months at different times and wasn't just going in order by month that I was going to mess it up, and I did, but it was very easy to fix. And now we're moving on to my favorite spread to fill out every single year. This is my bookshelf spread. So this will be where I keep track of every single book that I read this year. And I just think it's such a fun spread. It's so fun to see fill up. And obviously I enjoy reading, so it's very fun to kind of fill it up, and it's very motivational for me to kind of keep reading and read more books. Also, my camera does cut out at some point when I'm filming this spread, so I apologize about that. But this year I decided to do 5 shelves on each page. So last year I had 4 shelves, and I think I had like 96 books in total. So this year, because I added a shelf on each page, I now have like 120 books or something, which will I read 120 books in a year? Probably not, considering I didn't even fill up my bookshelf page from last year when I had less than that. But I wanted to make sure that I had plenty of space just in case I did manage to read that many books, especially because even though my Goodreads goal, I think for 2022 is going to be like 65, I think that's what I'm going to do. I kind of have it in the back of my head that I want to maybe try to read 100 books this year. I don't know if that's even physically possible for me to do, but it is a goal that's kind of in the back of my head. So I figured I might as well give myself plenty of space to do that if I do manage to do that this year. I also do color code the books that I have on my bookshelf, so I keep track of the format I read them. So whether it's a physical book, an audiobook, or an ebook, I don't really track that type of stat anywhere else, so I figured it's a good way to keep track of those things in my journal. Plus, if I went by like star rating, I change my mind on books all the time, so it would just not be super accurate. So that's the way I decide to kind of color code my bookshelf spread and the books that I read throughout the year, and honestly, it's like my favorite spread to fill out throughout the year, so very excited to start using that. And now we're moving on to my movies and shows watch spreads. So again, this is slightly different from my spreads last year. Last year, I used these 2 pages to keep track of movies and shows that had been like on my want to watch list for a very long time. And I kind of just had a list made out and I could kind of color it in and check it off once I had watched those things. But I decided I more so just like to keep track of the things I do watch, and it's more so like a memory thing, kind of memory keeper for me, so I can look back and see what I watched this year. So that's what I decided to do this year instead of just having a list of things I wanted to watch. So I'll keep track of the movies that I watched in 2022 on the left side and the shows I watched on the right side, and I'm once again very excited to see this spread fill up. I also kept these spreads pretty simple, just adding more stars and moon and like leaf doodles kind of around the page, but again, wanted to have plenty of space to write down anything that I might watch. And now we're moving on to my final 2 spreads for my beginning of the year spreads. This is something that I had in my journal last year, and it's inspired by Amanda Rach Lee. This is my 2022 in pictures spreads. So each month I will print out a picture of a memory or a moment in that month that I just want to remember. I want to have as kind of the main thing to remember from that month. I, to be honest, have not done the best job at printing out the pictures for my journal last year. I've done a few, but I still need to do a majority of the year's pictures, but I know I will do it eventually because I do look back on these journals as a memory keeper for me. So I wanted to have this spread in this year as well. So this first page is going to be the first 6 months of the year, and then I do a second page for the second half of the year, and I just am really excited to see these spreads fill out. I'm really excited to see what they look like, and I'm excited to also finish off the ones from last year as well. I just think it's such a fun idea and a fun way to include some more memories and just kind of that type of thing in my journal, considering, like I've said a million times, this is something that I look back on and to see where I was at certain points. So I think it'll be fun to keep track of those things in these spreads. But that is it. Those are my beginning of the year spreads for 2022. I'm so excited to have a fresh start and a fresh journal. 2021 was definitely not my year, not a great year, so I'm excited for a fresh new start, and I'm also excited to start filling out these spreads. Definitely let me know if you are starting a bullet journal this year, whether it's your first year or your 10th year. I would love to know, and I would love to know what you kind of went for your beginning of the year spreads, the theme, the aesthetic, the color scheme, anything like that. I would love to know. But I think that is going to be it for this video, so I hope you guys are excited for another year of journaling. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one.